Welcome back to episode 9 of Overtime Takes. It's me, Zaiden Shershanovich, your host, with my co-hosts Iannazzone and Chase Collum. You can see by the logos, it's Super Bowl weekend. A lot of episodes and a lot of conversations, a lot of games have been leading up to this moment, and of course we're so excited to see the rematch, Mahomes versus Purdy, and we're going to get right into it, previewing and talking about Ravens versus Chiefs that just happened last week. So obviously we know that Chiefs won that game.
Yeah.
And honestly, the score doesn't show it really. It was 17-10, but
Yep.
it really was domination. And you never really felt like, we'll see some video shortly about this game, but you never really felt like the Chiefs weren't going to win, honestly.
Yeah.
They got, did they 7-0 lead? They got the lead first.
Yeah, Kelsey scored first.
7-0 lead, Kelsey couldn't have been a better catch, couldn't have been a better throw. And they took the lead right there, 7-0. The Ravens did tie it up, but
After, I was gonna say, after the the long bomb to Zay Flowers touchdown, that's probably the only time in the game where I was like, this is gonna be an offensive showdown.
Yeah,
it didn't pan out that way, but like, you see the scramble here, a crazy sack to avoid, and making a throw like that. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's,
whoa, did they tie it up 7-7 there?
Yeah, that's 7-7
Yes.
with like 4 minutes left in the first quarter, and there's a combined one.
And then they didn't score for like...
basically the rest of the game, honestly.
Checo scores, and it's 14-7, and then it's just... you got
that play by Lamar
this highlight reel for the ages, but then you got just a bunch of... just 2 field goals, and it's 17-10, and the Ravens really never really were like... Oh, and we got to talk about this. Yeah, Zay Flowers, rookie mistake.
What a jerk.
Makes a great play, great move. Get up, hand the ball to the ref. Nope.
Yeah. Push
Hit
him
the guy
down,
in the neck.
Throw the ball.
Taunt him.
Yeah.
And then I think everyone knows what happens next.
And you really gotta question the game plan, in my opinion, the game plan of the Ravens, because if you see everything that we're seeing on the screen right now, it looks like every play the Ravens made were just like highlight reel plays. You had the 2 bomb catches by Zay and the catch by Lamar, but aside from that, they didn't
catch by Lamar.
They didn't put together a cohesive game of running and throwing like you normally see with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, and you've seen that all year. They played perfect against the 49ers. They played amazing against the Miami Dolphins. They did not put together a complete game, and they didn't look like the same team, and I can only attribute that to KC's defense. And I think they're almost underrated with how good that they are and how good I think they're going to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I saw a stat. I'm pretty sure the Ravens running backs, not Lamar Jackson, totaled a combined 6 carries.
Yeah, when you want them to have 20.
Hill. They were the number 1 rush offense the whole year, and they just completely went away from their game plan of running.
How many rushes did Lamar have? Because I know we talked about definitely here before that you get into the playoffs, you're not worried about Lamar getting injured. That's when you
Lamar had 8 rushes.
Wow, yeah, so 8 and
he should have
14 rushes combined, I'm pretty sure.
Everything rushing-wise should have been doubled. The only thing that I can think of is that they had to switch up what they were doing right away because of what the Chiefs were doing defensively. Because there's no way you can tell me that they weren't saying all week, we're going to pound the run, we're going to run Lamar, and we're going to play action pass off of it. You can't tell me that wasn't the game plan.
Yeah,
that's been the game plan all year.
It was their identity the whole season, and they just threw it away, and the Chiefs knew what was coming. I mean, in the fourth quarter, they were not running the ball with Edwards and Hill. They hadn't established it at all in the first quarter. And
seeing from this game, seeing from Buffalo, and then seeing from the wins all season, this is a different Chiefs team. Mahomes Mahomes isn't assuming the role of the hero who's just slugging the team on his back every third down. He has not been that way this season. He had 39 passes this game. He completed 30 for 39 is ridiculous for 241 yards and 1 touchdown. Pacheco had 24 carries. This is a completely different team, and they're literally, you can tell how much they're just playing to win. They just kept the game. They didn't do anything stupid. They didn't let the Ravens capitalize on anything, and punting to Lamar and forcing him to go the length of the field clearly caused some problems.
Yeah.
The Ravens had probably, I'd say, 2 or 3 chances where it was 14-7, where they could score, And I know us three were watching the game together. I mean, we never really thought they were going to score or come close to it. Yeah. That one time they did was Flowers. I'm pretty sure it was at a 10-point game or 7-point game. I don't know. But then, he's going to be a great player. But man, I mean, he didn't sleep at all that night. I mean,
100%.
1 yard short from a tie game or 3-point game.
But it wasn't his fault at all because he's the only guy who got open. Mark Andrews was a non-factor.
Yeah. Odell didn't do anything.
Odell not, but
still,
again,
it's just karma.
Snead,
it really is.
Snead and McDuffie.
Karma for what?
They're unbelievable.
Snead or Flowers.
Snead,
puts his hand on his neck or whatever he did. Snead forced the fumble.
Yeah, Snead did force the fumble.
He's legit. It's gonna be fun watching him and Ayuk.
So the Chiefs got the win and they're back again.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, you've got Brock Purdy in a game that once again you found yourself looking at the Niners and you're saying to them in a certain point of the game, like, there's no way they're going to win this game. They were down, 17 points at halftime?
Yeah, it was
Could you imagine?
24-7.
And the point where I knew the 49ers had a chance, the game should have been over. AI, right here next to me, he dabbles in gambling a bit, and he bet on Jahmyr Gibbs, and he said, should I put in another Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown for next week?
Yeah.
When it was 27-10, and it looked like the Lions were taking it away, and just the old AI jinx.
Old AI jinx.
I was convinced Detroit was winning. They started off fantastic. I mean, you're gonna see after this Montgomery run, you got a gadget player like Jamison Williams on an end around, 42 yards.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is ridiculous.
1 second.
Yeah,
like lightning
and they were playing how you'd think
this
the Ravens should have played.
Yes,
balance run. You've got the electricity of Gibbs, like being able to be speed, and I'd like Lamar to be that guy, and then the pounding run of Montgomery to just keep everybody honest. And then they passed perfectly based on that, and their defense played amazing. I truly don't know what happened. I think the Niners are just a different second half team.
Yeah, but then you go to the second half. Jahmyr Gibbs had -1 yards in the second half, rushing.
Yeah, he fumbled too.
That was bad. 2 rookies with those mistakes. As you see him here, though, the running back core is insane there in Detroit. I think that brought it to 21-7. They were just driving down the field effortlessly, and the Niners had no counter to it.
And you guys know how I feel about this. The decisions by Dan Campbell, those 4th downs, you can't say that they cost them the game, but I mean, it was really a tough situation. And in previous weeks, I've said that I wonder how Campbell's coaching and the Lions' success is going to translate, because you can't make those decisions in the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl. And they did, but it didn't work out. And you see why teams don't do that. Because they likely would have been in the Super Bowl. The Detroit Lions would have been in the Super Bowl against a team they beat this season if they didn't make those decisions that kind of have been their identity.
But you look at as a job as head coach, Dan Campbell, he's won with the players. I'm sure the players in the locker room, they think of him as more their equal.
Yeah.
He goes in there with this playbook, and he puts his players in the best position to win.
Oh,
you
100%.
See, the first time they went for a first down,
yeah.
it was in his hands.
Yeah.
That's a 4th down conversion, a likely touchdown. They were in the red zone, I believe. Even get a field goal out of it, even if
and
he
the game
catches
it was icing the game for sure.
And he dropped it, so you can't really put that on the coach. He drew up a great play, got his guy open, he dropped it.
And I 100% agree, but it's 4th down, so you have to understand. Think about it: the Patriots, the Chiefs, all good teams that have been going on this season or in previous seasons. They don't go for those, even though they can, because they're so excellent, because they know that there's those risks. You're going to have drop passes. You're going to have the ball slips. Like, you've got one play with your season on the line, and you could kick, or you could punt. Against a team that hadn't had much success, I would do it every single time. If it's not 4th and 1, 4th and 2, I'm not going for it.
I love Dan Campbell, I really do, and it sucks for him. He couldn't sleep that night, just like Flowers. I mean,
he probably still
those decisions. But you did say Reynolds. He dropped the ball. I mean, it was right in his hands. It was a fine throw. It would have gotten the first down. And I like the call. But if you do kick, right? You kick. The Niners started with the ball at half. They kicked, brought it to 14. Lions go down the field, kick. All that does is just take 8 minutes off the clock, nothing happened, score stays the same.
Yeah.
So really, that's a win for them. It's
100%.
It's a massive win, actually.
Yes.
Like crazy. They kick, they win. But Reynolds catches that ball, maybe it's 21, and not 17, they really win.
I mean, up 17-0, and you're a team like the Lions who just excellent running, excellent play action. Like, it is so hard to come back against a team like that when you're down. Like, they don't play flashy, or I guess sometimes they do play flashy, but they're not like a high-paced offense to where they're at risk of turning the ball over a lot. And they did exactly, obviously, going on a fourth down, not getting it as a turnover, and they did exactly what they couldn't do. And that's why that they're not playing the Chiefs, which in some ways is a good thing.
I would have loved to see Detroit in the Super Bowl. They're one of my favorite teams in the league, honestly.
I think we're getting a better Super Bowl, though.
I agree. It just would have been fun to see all those.
They weren't beating Mahomes twice.
All those guys, man.
Yeah. But now that we've got our matchup, one cool thing that we are going to see this year is that it's the same two teams that we saw
4 years ago?
4 years prior. They did look a little different. You see that graphic. It's perfect. Purdy wasn't there.
It was Garoppolo.
It was Garoppolo. A guy who's had
horrible.
a similar season,
he is horrible.
but he is terrible now, and you can really see it. So, I don't know. You see the way that Mahomes can really throw the ball, and it really is. If he's up, you're confident. If he's down, you're confident. And he's never, I've said this before, he's never going to be the reason why they lose.
All right, Chris Collinsworth. Let's get down to the picks.
And you can't disprove anything that I've just said. He will never be the reason why that they lose. And every throw is right on the money every time.
I'm pretty sure he threw a game-sealing pick against the Broncos when they lost to them.
Regular season last time.
And it may have been a regular season. Real quick before we get into the predictions.
Saying.
I know we want to talk about this game a little bit. Niners were up 20-10. I watched the highlights yesterday, actually. They were up 20-10 with 10 minutes left, had the ball, and they blew it. Shanahan was the OC for Atlanta when they were up 28-3, head coach for the Niners when they're up 20-10. He needs to keep his foot on the gas if they're up. He has to. It's there. Look at that. Wow. Kendrick Bourne was the 49ers leading receiver in that game.
With 42
yards.
That is unbelievable.
I didn't realize that. I think Mostert had 58 rushing yards. I'm pretty sure Debo had about 52.
Yeah.
They were a totally different team. Debo doesn't run as more now. He still runs a little bit.
I think he's going to run a lot this game.
I do too, but just for Shanahan and Andy Reid, everybody, you can't take your foot off the gas. You just can't.
Yeah.
No lead is safe.
Really, especially with Mahomes, man. No lead is safe.
So obviously this year is going to be a lot different. There's no Hill. Their offensive line has changed a lot.
No Hill, but they won last year without him.
Yeah, which is absurd. They got Rice, but who else is the receiver besides Kelsey? You got Watson, and you got MVS, who really had that big play last week, honestly.
Kadarius Toney.
And honestly,
they should healthy scratch him before the game.
I think the biggest difference. So I was watching one of the shows last night that talk about sports as well, and I was seeing stats on the Chiefs this season versus their prior two Super Bowl wins. Their defense let up the most points in their two Super Bowl wins. They let up the most points of all time of Super Bowl champ, 25 points per game each game. Obviously, both Super Bowl runs. This year it's like 13.
Yeah.
So
their defense is definitely spectacular, and that's as we see Purdy here. Purdy this year, he led the league in passer rating?
Yeah, probably.
So he has been a great quarterback all year. To be a top defense in the NFL, you have to be top 10 in EPA and DVOA. Those are just fancy words for being above average and how many points per play your team lets up. Brock Purdy, he played 4 of them this year. He ended up 2-2, having barely over almost a 59% completion rating with only 852 yards for 4 games, having 5 interceptions, and only having a passer rating of 85 as opposed to his league-leading 113. He is definitely going up against a top defense in the Super Bowl, and I think that performance, you're going to get a similar performance out of him unless he turns into the Tom Brady that people think he is. But that's why I'm taking the Chiefs. I think when you look on paper, Mahomes versus Brock Purdy, I don't know one person who would take Brock Purdy over Mahomes. Straight quarterback duel. And I think at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it in the Super Bowl. You saw it last season. At the end of the day, Mahomes and Hurts just played. It was them with their teams on the back, and Mahomes ended up coming out with a win. I just think when the going gets tough, like you can really trust Mahomes on every single play, but Purdy has not been that trustworthy when he's been put into bad situations, aside from the last 2 games, which has been really interesting to see how Purdy has recovered in being down. They looked bad in the first half against the Packers, and they looked horrible against the first half against the Lions. And you could really tell how much their team changed in the second half.
They can't come out flat. They can't.
Yeah.
They come out flat, you could shut off the TV, man.
Yeah.
Mahomes.
I truly think that if the Chiefs have a 2-score lead at any point in the game, it's going to be nearly impossible for the 49ers to overcome that and win. Because the way that they've been playing, in years prior, teams could catch up on the Chiefs. Mahomes could make a few flashy passes here. They could fumble. Their defense could let up a big play. It's not the same team.
I would argue they're a worse team.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, we saw them, I think a comeback that's not talked nearly enough is, 2 years ago or 3, the Bengals? I mean, you have Joe Burrow coming off an injury year. Yeah, it was 21-3, and like you say, maybe they just let their foot off the gas, but that's a game where Mahomes you could argue he was at his best. 21-3 looked like he was blowing out
and he had the
any
worst
other
half of his
competitor.
entire career.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like that was a good Chiefs team, and look, Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. I don't think there's debating that. But
Nope.
it's not watertight, I would say.
That's interesting, but like you were saying, how you would argue that they're worse. I think that visually, statistically, they do look like a worse team. But what they've turned into is
They're a playoff machine.
When you're hot too, man.
I
You
don't
gotta
even
remember that.
I mean, they're not even hot. They just scored 17 points.
Yeah, but the team chem is. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I could go back to this any day. Mahomes is an entertainer. Any game with him, it looks like it'll be close. I don't know the last time I saw Mahomes blow out.
And
yeah, honestly, I don't either.
the thing is, they just have such control over the games they've been playing in the playoffs. They've turned into just like a dynasty playoff machine. I mean, they weren't really expected to win the Super Bowl last year with the receivers that they had.
Definitely
and they
weren't
most
this year.
Certainly weren't this year.
I did not
mean,
anticipate this.
even after they played the Dolphins and beat them pretty handily, they were not even close to having the best odds to win the Super Bowl.
Pacheco
They were like
just
5th or
ran
6th.
over us. You see some highlights from him. That's, I guess, where you come in the more balanced team. Like, it's not all on Mahomes, like you said. Like, Pacheco can rush, what did you say, 24 times you ran
Yes,
it?
24 for only 68 yards, but you're just pounding the run. You're controlling the game.
Yep.
They didn't really have that good of success with the run, but they stuck with it, and the Ravens didn't.
I think if the Chiefs win the toss, they should get the ball, and they should go down and
disagree.
Honestly, either or, man. You got Mahomes or you got the #1 defense.
Because
Put the pressure on Purdy, kick it off.
if Purdy, well, there's 2 ways to that. If Mahomes takes the ball and goes down and scores a touchdown, the pressure has mounted on Purdy, and instantly he feels like he has to
He's
score.
like, I'm in the Super Bowl, man.
Yeah. But
And I'm
if you
fried.
kick off to
Little far
Purdy,
from Iowa State.
if you kick off to Purdy,
system
and
is
you
so
see
good.
that their defense has locked them in and is just locking them down, and you give Mahomes good field position on a 3-and-out punt, like these are things that could essentially, I mean, in the way that I like to phrase it, end the game. Like if the 49ers punt the ball and the Chiefs go up 7-0, I mean,
Hear me out,
it is. What are you doing? What are you going to do?
Hear me out.
Go down and score
Mahomes
again.
gets the ball.
It's your only option.
He scores 7-0. Purdy gets the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could have a 3-and-out or 1 first down. Drive goes bad. He's like, whatever. Like, yeah, I knew this was going to be a good defense. Chiefs go up 14-0.
Then it's immediately over, and
You would
everyone in
rather,
America
I
can
think,
turn off the
as a
TV.
Chiefs fan or a Chiefs, or you're rooting for them, you would rather have that than him get the ball first, go 3-and-out, and then Chiefs just drives down like it's nothing. And I feel like the pressure starts then on him, like 7-0, and you have 14-0, 7-0 pressure.
Yeah, but we can't. I mean, as much as how highly I think of the Chiefs, we can't just assume that the first drive is a touchdown.
No.
Yeah.
Because there's always the flip side. Like, maybe the Chiefs are a better team, but say they go 3 and out off of some circumstances, and then the 49ers come down, march down the field, and go 7-0. Like, now the Chiefs are really on their heels.
Purdy is I honestly think he's a very good. I'm a big Purdy guy.
Yeah.
Because I think too many people take away from him on the team that he's on.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. Like, yeah, he's not the most talented on the team. He's not going to be statistically the best, but he's a game manager. That's the quarterback position. And I think people
more than that.
I think people take away too much from him. And I think he's going to be calm, cool, and collected throughout this game.
The thing is, we said the exact, or obviously we didn't, but people in general said the same exact thing about Jimmy Garoppolo, like, oh, you can't take away from him, you can't take away from him. He had a bad performance in the Super Bowl when team was winning, and then he goes to a team that's not the 49ers, and he is not even a starter behind Jared Stidham.
Honestly.
So,
Aiden O'Connell.
Oh, Aiden O'Connell.
Both of them, man.
Both of them.
Seriously.
He's the third string against two guys that just obviously should not be starting quarterbacks.
I'm going to rain on your guys' parade a little bit here. I have been picking against the Chiefs the whole way, except against Miami. No offense, you knew that one, but they really have impressed me. I mean, they don't have weapons. They don't have the weapons that other teams do. They have Rice, they have Kelsey, but everyone else, their supporting cast is not as great as other teams. And I do think the 49ers are going to win, but I love both teams. I don't know if you guys saw when the Kelseys were playing each other last year, and they had Miss Mama Kelsey on the show. She was like,
"Is that I'm with both jerseys on?"
She's just like, "I'm rooting for offenses.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for who has the ball. That's what I'm rooting for. I want a great game. I want to
see
shoot
some
out.
big hits.
We're due for a good game.
I don't want a blowout, man. I would be so upset if there's a blowout.
There hasn't been that.
I'm
many
not
great
rooting
games
for
this
either
playoffs.
team. I really am not. I do think the Niners will win. I think Kittle's going to have a game. I'm sure everybody has seen what he said.
Yeah.
What he said at the end of the last game. I will be back here. You will not get the best of me. I think I could see the Niners getting the ball within 3 minutes. He scores on a 30-yard pass and just
what's
loses
yard
his
per
mind.
catch this year?
It's
like
it's probably
40?
it's not better than Ayuk's, I think, but
Really?
But
I feel
it's
like
unbelievable.
I feel like I know you had Kittle in fantasy this year, and
Yeah.
I'll look at his stats, and he has like 18
Nothing.
points
Yeah.
with 2 or 3 catches.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
That's a Kittle game. Like last game, he had 2 catches, 29 yards. Against Green Bay, he had like 4 for 78 and a touchdown. Like that's a Kittle game.
And the thing is, if that's going to be what a Kittle game is like, I don't think that they're using him right, because against the Chiefs,
He
you can't rely on those blown coverage up the middle where Kittle's just streaking down the sideline. They would be even better if they used Kittle as a weapon, like they use Kelsey, like the Chiefs use Kelsey. If you have him constantly running different routes, constantly targeting him, like he's a beast. He's unbelievable.
Blocking too,
and after the catch, no one can tackle him. He's just
Same
a
with
monster.
Debo too. I think Debo's the biggest key in this game.
Yeah.
He is.
I don't think he
is so hard to take down. And for a guy that's like, for a receiver that's not that like he doesn't look that big. He's impossible to take down, man.
Shifty.
Like he could have like you said this earlier, rushing game for him. Like they should really use him in the rush game, end around, jet sweeps, and then just hit him for screens.
Yeah, and I think their problem this year is I don't think that they're better like offensively, or I don't think that they look as good offensively playoff-wise as when they had without McCaffrey, because when they had a running back like Eli Mitchell, or not Eli Mitchell, like Raheem Mostert,
Good guy.
he was a phenomenal running back with them, but they wouldn't rely on him like to win them the playoff games. They would use Debo more because they would rely on him, and they would use Kittle more, and they would use their receivers more. when they have CMC now, you don't see the Debo runs as much. You don't see as creative of plays with the other guys. It's all CMC. And they've been very stagnant in the first half of games because it's just like they're running with CMC, and then they're throwing to CMC, and then maybe CMC is throwing to someone else. Like it's just CMC.
The Super Bowl.
It's too much.
The Super Bowl is where you pull out the bag of tricks. We saw this Philly special.
Yeah.
We saw Bengals and Rams. Joe Mixon toss pass.
Well, and it doesn't even need to be your bag of tricks. It's your best plays. You saw the Chiefs with that play against the Eagles. They scored 2 wide open touchdowns on that play that they drew up, and they knew it would work.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a crazy end around, double reverse pass. It's just this is it. You have all on the line.
Yeah.
There's no saving. I'm going to save this play for next game.
Yeah.
Everything is on the line. You pull out your best plays.
And nobody has been better recently at doing that than the Chiefs.
Big Red, one of the greatest offensive
Him and Shanahan
minds
are the 2 best. They are. McDaniel's close third.
Yeah, and he's one of the guys from San Fran.
And their defensive guy, they never
Spagnuolo's
lose
been there
Spagnuolo.
forever, I feel like.
You see nowadays, it feels like if an offensive or defensive coordinator has a great year, like they're automatically like, okay, he's interviewing with this team, and the playoffs are still going on. And he's interviewing with 10 teams.
Yeah,
he stays with the Chiefs.
Yep.
Yeah,
and he's been building a culture there.
One of our 49ers friends mentioned to me, shout out Liam, that in the past couple years, every defensive coordinator has gotten another job for the 49ers.
Yeah, and they just keep coming in with great.
Last year?
Ryan.
Yeah, D'Amico Ryans. Yeah, there you go.
And they've just been like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, and their coaching is phenomenal too.
Saul was unsuccessful, but
yeah. Well, just like the Jets have been saying, you just got to give them a year with Rodgers. Like they don't even care what's happened with him. I don't think he's that good of a coach. But that's a whole separate thing. So my prediction, I really like. Honestly, like at lunch today when I was predicting the score, I said 31-20 Chiefs, but then I realized like that was the exact score of the last Super Bowl.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
So I don't really want to say that again. I think it's going to be lower scoring because that's what the Chiefs control every game they've been in, and that's every game that they've played has been low scoring. I think that it's going to be 23 Chiefs to 20 49ers, but I think that the 49ers are going to be down 10 in the fourth quarter, and they're going to score a touchdown to
garbage time.
To not necessarily garbage time.
Yeah, you can try and get an onside kick.
Yeah, but like you know how
7 minutes, maybe 6.
You know how the Ravens scored that field goal to make it a 7-point game. I think it's going to be similar with a touchdown, and I think that once again you're going to just see a dominant Chiefs game.
Yeah, like a close score, but the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I'd like to see I want to see a game-winning play. At the end of the day, I'm not a fan of either of these teams.
I know, but
I would love to see imagine like a Minnesota Miracle type play, Miracle in Miami.
I don't think that could happen in the Super Bowl. I don't think that could happen in the Super Bowl. But the closest thing to that could happen is that what is it, Titans Rams, where they pass it to that guy and he dives and he's like an inch short of like tying the Super Bowl or winning it or whatever it was.
Or
I think that's more realistic.
43-yard game-winning rush.
Oh yeah. Obviously I want it to be a good game. I think the Chiefs are going to win, and if we go back to my predictions, I had the Chiefs all the way.
I was just about to say that, man.
I've had the Chiefs pretty much the entire way the whole season.
You're a glazer, though.
Yeah, but he's right.
He's right. But
nothing that I say is Mahomes. Not true.
Mahomes is all his throws are just
it's right on the money every time.
They're close to perfect or perfect.
If you just think about our three favorite teams, and there's my picks right there. I got the Chiefs versus 49ers, and I got the Chiefs winning it. If you look at our teams, the Steelers, they fumbled around with like 10 different quarterbacks since Big Ben left. Dak, every single time that they get into the playoffs, he seems to have his worst games.
Yep.
And the same. Tua doesn't even show up to their playoff games. He's hurt sometimes.
He was there. It was cold.
And
couldn't throw it as far.
And when he does show up, he doesn't show up. So if you think about the difference in our quarterbacks somehow can never play good, and it's always their fault. Like I said, it's never Mahomes' fault when they lose. It's every throw is reliable and perfect. Yeah. It's just a different brand of basketball.
Look, he's the best quarterback in one of the most competitive of men's sports in the world. He's gonna be great at what he does.
And like you said, real quick, like if Purdy wins the Super Bowl, you can knock away all the allegations.
All the game manager.
Maybe he even is a game manager, but you can't say it in that way. Like he can be. Yeah. Maybe he is a game manager, but he's
elite or close to elite.
Great game manager. and if you can win a Super Bowl, if Purdy can win a Super Bowl, he's automatically better than a lot of the quarterbacks. So, Chase, you have the Chiefs.
Yeah, I also have the Chiefs.
So we got Chiefs, 49ers, Chiefs.
Yeah. And real quick before we sign off, just what the team's futures could look like with a loss. I have the stat right here. I've said this to you, I feel like 100 times. I didn't know the Cowboys were one of them. 1970 Cowboys and 2017 Patriots are the only teams to lose the Super Bowl and bounce back to win the next year.
And you look at the Eagles. I mean, they kind of look
good,
good, but
the
then
Super Bowl,
and
it was one of the worst blunders of ever.
Both times or even when they won the Super Bowl, they had a bad year.
Like
Carson Wentz.
Honestly, if the Chiefs do lose, it's not as bad for them because they did win last year.
Yeah.
Still, I mean,
it's hard to get back. It's hard to
and
lose.
if they just get a one better draft
if the
pick,
Niners
and
lose, man,
everyone in the AFC could give up their playoff hopes.
Niners got the NFC Championship last year. The quarterback tears their UCL on the second play. They don't have a quarterback. They get blown out.
Yeah.
This was their revenge tour. They get all the way back. If they lose, it just crushes a team. It really does.
So this is two completely separate things. This is the Niners' window with Purdy's contract where he's being paid what us three are being paid.
Yeah, he
nothing,
still has
basically.
a roommate.
So they're paying him nothing. This is their window to win because they're not going to have a better roster. But the Chiefs are not going to have a worse roster in the near future. The Bills, this was their window. The Bengals, I mean, Joe Burrow got hurt.
Both windows
that
are
was
still
their
open.
window.
They're still open a little bit.
Lamar,
Bills are
all their windows are closing up because you just had the Chiefs. You just had the Chiefs in opponent territory with their worst roster, and you couldn't beat them. So if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year, and then maybe they go out and get a guy like Mike Evans or somebody else, and then they also have draft picks, which they've been sniping guys.
Yep.
Like they're getting the 30th overall pick.
Unless Andy Reid retires.
Yeah,
how old he is.
Then they'll get Belichick. So it doesn't matter.
He's probably. I think Andy Reid's just going to ride out Mahomes' career.
Yeah.
And be an
You think
old
he has that
coach.
many years?
Well,
Yes.
that could be 10 years, but
It's going to be
we'll
like
see.
15.
If he wins this year,
He's
got
to stop doing State Farm commercials. That whole team is just.
Where are we going with this?
We're just going where the conversation.
But
takes
like
us
I
to.
said, like the Chiefs, if they win the Super Bowl this year, it could potentially be the first time in sports or in the NFL and in my lifetime where you really have a team that is.
And we might
like-
as well as teams in the AFC just not even watch.
Yeah.
the
I know.
The regular season is fun, but then you get the playoffs and
Like
So
this team,
Mahomes.
it could turn into like the Golden State Warriors, where you just know that if they stay healthy, they're going to the Super Bowl, they're going to the NBA Finals, and they're probably going to win.
Yeah.
So, obviously, like I've been saying, all we can predict, we can talk about it all we want, but all we can do at the end of the day on Sunday is watch at 6:30 and
Cannot wait.
hope that our predictions go well, and I hope that anyone who is making their own predictions or maybe placing a few bets with their friends or
Not
something
me.
else has a great Super Bowl. Thank you guys so much for watching, and peace out.
See ya.